everyone, I'm Cosmic and welcome to the Cloud. So we just got patch 8.0 for Splatoon 3 and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because the most interesting thing about this patch is not really anything to do with the weapons, but actually the map. So I'm going to go ahead and hop onto Umami actually. Now for a long time, most people have kind of agreed that one of the worst parts of Splatoon 3 is the map design compared to Splatoon 2 and especially Splatoon 1. They've just been a lot more linear, a lot more kind of samey. They don't really have distinct themes and whatnot. But this update is the biggest map update pretty much we've gotten in the game, besides like just, adding maps. This one changed the most. There was like, the poll update a while ago that kind of maybe solved some problems in very niche circumstances, but didn't really do a whole lot unless you like using Zipcaster on poles. But this map actually made some pretty significant terrain changes, and they advertised it as, Barnacle and Dime and Hammerhead Bridge getting reworked. And Barnacle was changed pretty significantly. Barnacle is pretty nice now, but Umami, I feel like, is one they didn't really talk about much. And I think this one does a lot more to actually solve specific problems with the map. So historically, I have not liked Umami Ruins. I have actually said this is like one of my least favorite maps in the game. Not because it's like, it's actually kind of playable. Like it isn't as like maybe competitively bad as some other maps, but it just always felt like really unfinished to me. Like it just felt like there wasn't enough space, and they added a little bit more space. But more importantly, I think they just kind of use the space better. So first of all, like the spawn is way better. Like this whole thing wasn't here before. I don't know exactly what it looked like, but this is just a lot better. There's way more, defensive high ground. There's kind of this weird uninkable, I don't know why that's there, but there's like actual space here and cover. And importantly, this area is like actually more usable now because there's some more cover added here on this bridge, but if you drop, this ramp has been rotated sideways, so instead of just being like straightforward where you just swim up and immediately get sniped by Izuka from the other side of the map, you actually have some cover here. You can actually use this to enter the map. You can actually ink this wall and come up around here. This ink rail is like still kind of useless, but this ink rail over here is actually kind of cool. So you're still obviously super vulnerable here. Like if there's an E later, you're just gonna get sniped out of the air, but like it's kind of another route. It's kind of another way into mid. Sort of nice. But I don't just want to like do a review of this map specifically. I just chose this one because it's a good example of a lot of the stuff that happened in the update. It's not just terrain adjustments, but they actually did a lot of like new like texturing work. They retextured a lot of existing blocks and added a bunch of new blocks and try to make them kind of fit in more with the environment. Umami has always been a kind of a weird map aesthetically because like there's this awesome like pyramid thing going on in the background and all that stuff, but then the actual map is just a little bit like messy. Like there's kind of just cover and blocks everywhere. They had to add in like these signs, which means they had to add in like the cranes coming over, and the cranes look kind of cool. That actually blends with the background. But I think one problem with this update is that it just kind of makes the maps feel a little messy and cluttered, and it's not even necessarily a gameplay issue. It's kind of just like an aesthetic thing. So I commend them for like making the blocks sort of fit in, and on some maps it's just a straight up improvement. Like on Brine Water, they added like some stone blocks, and I think they look really great and totally fit in with the map. But yeah, in general, there's just a lot more kind of like obvious video gamey level type design going around, and I think it's just kind of a telltale sign of the flawed kind of map design system for Splatoon 3, because they added a lot of maps at launch that were just not very good, and they've kind of done these incremental changes to the maps to try to make them better. And the only issue is that those increments are very obvious. Like it's, there was not an inkable wall here, so they added this board, and you can tell that they added this after the fact and put that there. And it's just sort of inconsistent because some things like do fit in, like these blocks and like the brine water blocks, and some things are just very obviously added afterwards. And I guess at the end of the day, like I think the gameplay matters more than the looks, especially, on these maps that are not very good and have not been received well by the community. But I think it is a bit of a shame that these maps kind of can't have the more organic design, especially, again, just with Splatoon 1, you have things like Bluefin Depot where it just feels so much more like a lived in place. Like Umami already has the issue of being one of these maps where, there's just a giant gap. And they kind of, it's like an archaeological site. They kind of blended in here. I think Mako Mart is a much worse offender, where it's like, why is there a giant death pit in the middle of a grocery store? I think it's just an element of Splatoon 3's maps that I think, normally when people complain about the maps, it's about, how many routes into mid, how, big is it, how many options do you have to move around. But I also think you know, these aesthetic choices are also, you know, a part of, for me, what makes these maps not as good. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm a little conflicted on these changes because some of them are pretty great. Some of them seamlessly, you know, just fit in and are definitely like worthwhile. But Umami, I just think this map kind of embodies everything I don't like about Splatoon 3 maps. And, you know, again, like, it's not even that bad. Like this, I don't think most people would claim that this is the worst map in the game, but to me it kind of is. And again, it's a little bit better now. It's a little bit more playable, but it just feels like a mess. I mean, just look at this shot. Like, we have like a bumper, like wooden blocks. We have weird tarp blocks that have like 3 different uninkable textures for some reason. Also, why are blocks always not inkable on every side in Splatoon 3? Like, there's never a good like strategic reason for this. Like, you know, they're trying to give this side an advantage, I guess, but it's like, you know, they're just limiting the movement of the game and the options people have, and also making the maps look worse when they do this. So this is what's a little bit disappointing to me about Splatoon 3. Like, I'm just so not bothered by the weapon kits. I think the weapon kits are like fine. Just other problems people have with Splatoon don't bother me. This bothers me. And I think most people agree, but I think this is like the biggest problem with the game, genuinely, when the maps don't support the gameplay or the aesthetics. Now, that said, I'm not trying to hate on this update at all, because I think most of these changes are good, especially on maps, you know, from Splatoon 1 and some from Splatoon 2, where they're able to make these changes. So like here, they kind of extended and lowered this section, and, you know, if you played Splatoon 1, you will recognize that they just made this part of the map how it was in Splatoon 1. So again, I'm happy they did this. It's a good change, but it really does just suggest that, you know, it was better in Splatoon 1. Why did we ever change it? And I respect the devs, you know, maybe taking a risk and trying to, you know, do things differently, but it is kind of unfortunate that there's just these odd relics. Why is this block even here? Oh, I guess this is so you can kind of like poke over here, but it's like, you know, this is the kind of stuff that just like, it's just an obvious relic of kind of, you know, a mistake they made. So now let's take a look at one of the maps they actually claimed they were reworking. This is pretty much the change. You can drop here now. And also there is a sponge on this side, so defenders can get up here. And I mean, again, this is better. I do think, you know, this is a case of them actually, you know, changing the terrain to make it fit in. Like, this doesn't feel too awkward, but this is kind of just a worse version of Walleye Warehouse, which was already not one of the best maps in Splatoon 1 and 2. So it's just, sometimes you just gotta wonder what is even going on. I don't know. I'm really torn on this update, because like, the maps are better. I'm glad that they are responding to the criticism of the maps and trying to make them better. And I always want to make sure, you know, I'm not hyperbolizing. Like, the game is still great. I don't think the maps being worse than Splatoon 1 and 2 ruins the game. I still think Splatoon 3 has like maybe the best gameplay of any Splatoon game, simply because of the movement and just the aiming. I mean, the aiming is just objectively better than Splatoon 2. I think we don't talk about that nearly enough. But let's go and take a look at Barnacle and Dime. So this is a pretty good change, right? Because this is an actual, like, all of this is paintable, like, pretty much. Not on this side, which, you know, fair enough, that makes sense. But this snipe is paintable. You can get up here, there's cover, there's a thing, and more importantly, there's this, which is actually another route into mid. Is that a bathroom sign? Where's the bathroom? There? Okay, I'm confused by that. But this is genuinely a thing where if people are, you know, here, like the tower checkpoint is like here, right? So it's like you come around here and you can actually genuinely flank the enemy on this map. Also, there's a pole for some reason. So like this change is good. It's not perfect. I mean, I think if this was, you know, if there was some way to get up here, if this was inkable, that would be pretty cool. But, you know, these are the kind of changes we need. And I guess what I'm trying to get at with this video, I'm kind of trying to figure out the point I'm trying to make as I'm talking, but it's just so inconsistent. It's just so wildly inconsistent. And it's really weird because so many of the maps in Splatoon 3 are really similar. There's so many that are this like weird diagonal line. And I mean, this one is better now. Like the sides, like in this part, it does a lot to distinguish it, and it's good. I just wish that every map could have this. And even in this case, like, I don't know, this fits in pretty well, and you could even argue it kind of blends into the map a bit better. Like, you're kind of close to this fountain now. It feels a bit more kind of immersive, and like you're actually in this space. Like, this is an actual spot you could stand to look out at this fountain, because I do care about that. I mean, I genuinely care pretty much equally about like the fun of the map and like the vibe and aesthetic of the map. I really deeply care about, you know, both the gameplay and the environmental and world building aspects of Splatoon. The problem with this, right? So this is the block update. Before we had the poll update, this is the block update. And the problem with the block update is that Splatoon is not Minecraft, and it's kind of weird to these cubes everywhere. I mean, the maps have always been made out of blocks, right? Like, there's these block units. Like, this is just how they make maps, and I think it's good because it's, you know, it kind of goes all the way back to like Mario type, you know, level design, like tile set level design, where you can gauge the distance of a jump if you know the length of a block unit. Like, it's just good, you know, game design, and it's easy, you know, to create dev tools to make a consistent, you know, game unit scale for the maps. I think that is fine. It's fine when they decorate it, but when they just place down blocks like it is Minecraft, it starts to feel a little weird. I don't think this map suffers too badly from it, but like, even like, yeah, like, look at this. If I get a good angle of this, like, count how many just straight up blocks are in this view. That's a lot of blocks. I don't know exactly how to word this, but I guess it's just like, is this the best way this could have been done? No, the answer is no. The best way it could have been done is them planning this out better from the beginning. Now, I know, like, we can't change the past. It is what it is. I'm glad they're just trying to update it at all, but it's like, man, I think even once we get used to these blocks and they kind of do just start to blend into the environments, it will still always just kind of subconsciously feel more video gamey. And I don't even know exactly what I'm trying to say, but I guess I'm just kind of coming to grips with the fact that now there are these weird video game blocks all over these environments that I really wish could just look like lived in spaces. And I respect that it's a hard balance to strike. I mean, even when you are, you know, starting from scratch, trying to make a level in a video game, there's always this balance. And Nintendo is a very gameplay first company, and I, you know, honestly am amazed at how much, you know, world building detail there is in Splatoon. I mean, not that this exactly makes sense, but it's mostly like believable enough that it's just kind of cool to see all the details. So yeah, I'm torn. I really like this update for a lot of reasons. I think the new map looks great. I think the music is great. I think the new weapons look great, and the maps are better. They're just better at a cost, and I felt it might be worth talking about that cost as someone who really deeply cares about both the gameplay and the lore. I'm curious what other people think, because I know some people will like not really care about this, and it will just be like, okay, they're, you know, they're making changes to the map and it's worth it to have these blocks here. Generally, again, that is how I feel. It's just kind of, you know, it's just a thing. It's just a thing with Splatoon 3 that I think will always be worse than Splatoon 1 and even Splatoon 2. And I swear, I am torn. Like, I'm not trying to come off as negative. I'm just like, man. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. I don't know exactly. I don't even know if I'm going to upload this video. I'm so conflicted about how I feel about this, but I wanted to say something because it's weird and I don't like it, and I'm trying to figure out why I don't like it, but also I do like it. Like, I think this map will be like way more fun to play on now. But why does it have to have blocks everywhere? I don't know. I don't know. I just got to end this here because I'm just rambling. Thank you guys for watching. I will stream the new season tomorrow probably, and make a video and all that stuff. So look forward to that. I'll see you guys then. This has been Cosmic. Farewell.